Like all girls, we like going to the loo together, and Lauren and me are no different. This is taking shit seriously, and we are meeting up with inspiring people in their bathroom talking about topics that are interesting, important, and gripping. Like what you just said? Then stay tuned for this, our very first episode.
If you have a younger sibling like me, you must know the feeling. Another weird app with strange dances and even stranger animal faces and GIFs. But what if a stranger starts messaging them, asking them to do inappropriate things? What about harassment? How does a child say no to something they don't know the motives behind? And what can parents, siblings, and the apps do themselves? Well, that's what we're talking about.
Millennials used to use social media to build their own brand. Now, we, Generation Z, so everyone 23 and under, have taken this to a whole new level. We've got our entire lives up on social media. Everything pretty, from giving birth, getting married, who was our first crush, all the pictures. But as well as that, we also have the most ugly bits on there. We spread sexual harassment. We like to spread hate just because we're bored, just because we can, and just because we know how to do it. Today we want to talk to Lauren, someone who's experienced sexual harassment on social media, as well as seeing that with her younger siblings. Lauren, what social medias do you use?
Okay, so normally on a daily basis, I use kind of Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, but in the past I've also used social media sites like Vigo and TikTok, which I've really seen a rise in kind of nasty content on.
So what have you experienced in terms of sexual harassment or even anything else negative that wasn't quite sexual harassment, but enough to kind of hurt you, make you feel uncomfortable?
So there's like a couple of instances on the app called Vigo. You have to be 18 and over to use the app, but a lot of the stuff on the app is quite explicit for what it's supposed to allow. So you're not allowed anything like nudity or, anything like that. But unfortunately, people do take that to extremes. Your age is moderated, but other than that, you do get people requesting stuff. You get people requesting to message you personally, and it's quite invasive. It really is quite invasive. And on stuff like TikTok, there is a real increase, unfortunately, especially in times like this in a pandemic where everybody's online. There's a massive increase in stuff like predators and, TikTok's for children. So, it's putting people at risk. It's putting everyone at risk.
What did you do to make it stop?
So I started blocking people and, just ignoring the comments. But in the end, they were coming so frequently, anyone that's over the age of 18 could use this app from all over the world, and anybody could access your content. There was no kind of making it private, to my knowledge. I was a host on there, so I would have to go live and, and in return you get gifts from people, which can have like a monetary value to it. So it's really kind of dangerous, and people will ask you and people will say, oh, how you do this and I send you this. In the end, there was just too much of it. So I actually took myself off the app. I deleted my account and deleted the app from the App Store on my phone. It was just a bit too much. And I was 18 at the time, which was completely legal and completely okay. But for me, I still felt quite vulnerable. There were older people and, wiser people, wiser than myself. And I did feel at risk.
Yeah, you're talking about the way it made you feel. So what kind of comments did you get and how did they make you feel?
So they were quite graphic comments at times, and it scared me a little bit, only being 18. There was stuff like, oh, can you show this or can you show that, or do this and I will send you this. And a lot of the time it was quite sexual.
Yeah.
And kind of to avoid the host being taken down, so myself in the case, they would ask you to do it privately. and people could send you private messages. Private messages could be open, and people send me all the stuff. I'll give me your WhatsApp and I'll send you this, or can you send me a picture of this? And it really kind of, I felt at risk, and I felt kind of almost dirty using it. And it's a social media app. It was never, to my knowledge, intended to be anything like that. But people do. Unfortunately, they could get away with it.
Well, again, it is very easy. Nowadays, everyone can go on every app, say whatever they like, because as much as social media platforms are trying to protect us and the user generally, there isn't that much opportunity to actually control the user, because you also want to make sure they feel happy with with their privacy, how much they can share, and how much are you actually allowed as the platform to look into messages, to look into posts, comments, so on and so on. So there are always ways someone can spread hate, and if you're not stepping in saying, look, I don't like this, I am gonna report this to someone higher than me or higher than you, if you don't have the confidence to say that, there is not really a way of stopping it. So going actually into that, someone who isn't that confident, someone who does maybe not even understand what people might offer them, are young children, young teenagers, so people you would normally come across on apps like TikTok. You have a younger sister. What have you observed?
So my younger sister, she uses TikTok every day. She absolutely loves it. She loves, the dances and all kind of the stories and the small documentations of people's lives. It's interesting, and it gives her an insight into other people's lives. But actually, there's quite a dangerous side to TikTok. I had it for a little bit on my phone, and you'd scroll on the For You page and you'd see everybody's videos, and sometimes there'd be quite graphic stuff on there, and it kind of takes you back a bit. There's stuff about abuse and kind of activism, like really kind of graphic activism, and there's actually predators on there that are open in saying what they want from children. And with an app that's designed for kids or for teenagers, I think that's actually really dangerous, and I think more needs to be done.
Scrolling through it, even not only on the app itself, but also like on YouTube, having a look through, okay, what are typical videos? And again, it depends what your interests are. You can subscribe to basically anything, and it seems quite happy. It seems all fluffy, people dancing, life hacks, baking, cooking, bit of everything really. It doesn't seem very threatening, and I can understand that therefore a lot of adults, especially parents, might seem quite comfortable with letting their children, the teenagers, being on that app. But what I also came across, and that's something that you've already mentioned, is a lot of very sexualized stuff. It's even songs which you wouldn't be expecting to be sexualized, and then you have a lot of girls, and I couldn't even tell you what age they were, but they could be anything from 12 to 21, just because of the way they are dressed. You would not be sure. And if it was only children on that platform, fair enough. But again, who controls that? Who tells people, okay, you're allowed to be on this app, you're not? And also, in what way is it okay to allow kids to dress that way and put themselves on social media? It's okay, you can wear whatever you want at home, but there are certain things that should not go outside to help not making you a victim. It is quite scary thinking everyone could watch this, everyone could download this.
Well, yeah, once it's on the internet, it's there forever. And children, especially, younger children, 13, 14, so when, they can start downloading the app, are they really aware that it's there forever and anybody can download it, anybody can share it? Are they aware? Are the parents aware? Are their parents aware of what they're watching, what content they're posting? And should TikTok really be doing more?
That's the question, but not even TikTok, also other apps. It's again this whole thing, how well have we children equipped, and should we therefore say, okay, you're not allowed to go on this app up until 16? Because thinking back, the first time I went on Facebook back then, it was from 14 onwards. Of course, I got on there before I was 14. I must have been 12, 13, but even then, certain pictures you receive, especially as a female, after a certain age what they are, and what whoever sent this out wants to tell you with this, or basically offer you. But just it seems like after a certain age and after a certain amount of experience that you've got, before that, it might be very innocent to you. It might just be kind of a game. And what do you do if you're being kind of roped into something you're not really aware of doing, and you don't know what you're saying yes to, or you just are too scared to say no? What is it?
As well, kids, they see it and they see the followers and they say, oh, this person can be my friend, but they don't really know what they're letting themselves in for.
Exactly. It's this whole thing of, okay, people seem to be okay with playing with the naivety that young children, older children, teenagers still have, in that TikTok, a girl who might be wearing shorts from when she was 7, and then a girl who's then, let's say, 14. So you might not know that much more in terms of her sexuality, but definitely her body has changed. She looks more like a woman. So when she's then wearing shorts, she will get a different attention than she had when she was 7. And how will she be able to handle it? Is she already there to the point that she can say no? Does she know what someone else means? Or does she even feel confident enough to say no? And it is a very dangerous game.
These are all massive things, aren't they?
What would you think, as a user, as an older sister, what would you hope for, or what would you wish for to get help? What would you like to have changed?
I think that for me personally, I think the responsibility lies equally with parents and with the app creators and moderators themselves. I think we have two main issues here. One of them is, do parents actually know what their children are being exposed to? Because a lot of the time, you see the adverts for TikTok, and they look all fun and fluffy and dances and baking, but there's a hidden side to it. So I think maybe some parents need to look into that more. And then you've got the second side of getting the apps to verify ages, and to kind of make sure that children are put at less risk if they say they're a certain age, if they say they're under 16, or they are under 16, put some locks on it, some like parental style locks on it. But then again, we have the issue with that's happening at the moment, security concerns within the app. Would people be willing to use the app if they had to verify their ages? And we've got a massive issue there. So I think really it's shared responsibility between parents to know what their child is getting up to, and the apps themselves to protect children more. It's vital that they need protecting. They are too young to understand the dangers for themselves.
Yeah, again, I think social media should be easier to be looked through, not only by parents but also generally by users, and it should be easier for people who work for the social media to block people, to have a look into, okay, what's going on. And yes, that would restrict the privacy of people, but I believe that if you get onto social media, you should be aware that at that point you're putting on your information on the internet. And yes, there would have to be restriction coming into that. But for example, in terms of age restrictions, there are already so many websites where you have to, in order to get on them, show some kind of ID, show proof that you are that certain age, and maybe that's the way to go. But again, as I said, social media, or certain social media apps at least, will not make it that easy because it lower the rate people want to go on it. And of course, parents will have to spend more time with their kids, sitting there, letting them show, okay, what is your kid doing over the time being on it? Who are they talking to, and what are the other people saying? And social media should offer more opportunities for parents to have a look into. So, for example, have a shared account, and that kids should be like in that if a child under a certain age gets an account, the adult with or without the knowledge of the kid, obviously it would be great if the child would know it, would get a way like with an extra password or something like that, so it can actually log into it, have a look itself.
I think in the age as well of, you know, children's rights, and of course children should have rights, they need rights, um, is a parent limited in terms of what they can do, what they can look at, what they can access that belongs to a child, and, you know, their children's accounts? Should they have access? Are they allowed access? Is it against their, you know, right and their freedom to have access?
Exactly. I mean, there is only so much privacy you should be allowed as a parent to interfere with because, again, the older you get, the more you build a personality, the more you want to build your own life. And actually, not having to tell everything to your parents. I mean, thinking about, imagine having your first partner, first boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. You don't want to necessarily face all those questions straight away with your parents. You don't want your mom sitting there being like, oh my god, who is that? Can I meet him? All that. You don't know where things are going yet. And it is a difficult situation for parents because, yeah, you want to protect them. But again, you don't want to cut too much into their life because it is still there. So
For me, I think because I'm now an adult, you know, I don't really want my mum kind of always snooping in my stuff. But I think as a child, sometimes you need that, you know, the dangers that you're exposed to. And looking back and reflecting now, sometimes I wish my mum had had a bit of input in that, you know, because stuff on the internet as well, also stuff that children say, you know, cancel culture and stuff like that is so rife, you know. Do we need to also educate social media etiquette, you know, from a young age? And should parents, you know, be kind of having a smaller influence on what their children are saying, what they're putting out there, because the children are aware that it's going to be around forever. But it's a difficult one. It really is.
yeah, again, what do you do as a parent, and when should you be allowed to stop, or should you stop? Because often you don't realize as a teenager especially that you should have had someone to help you here. It is often already too late by the time you scream for your mom or dad. And what if you're too embarrassed about that? What if you're too embarrassed to ask for help? Again, I remember times when I would have spent time on social media and suddenly some kind of bloke on the internet would start chatting with me, and this conversation ended up being something completely different. Of course, I felt uncomfortable. I didn't quite know what I was saying. I felt like I was saying things that were expected of me to be saying, and just because I didn't want to offend the person, but I felt very uncomfortable. I didn't know how to stop this conversation. But I would have never gone at that moment to either my parents and would have said, please, can you stop me? Can you stop this? I don't know how to. Because I have already been sharing information with that other person. I rather would have not, but I don't want to share it even with my parents at that point. I wouldn't have want to face them having a go because I have been doing this or I have been saying that. Because, yeah, it has already gone too far.
Yeah, that's a massive part of it as well. You know, do, you know, children want to admit to their parents, look, I've got myself into trouble. But I think another aspect of it is, do parents not necessarily have to work social media? Some parents are brilliant on social media. I know parents like my mom are a bit kind of a bit iffy on it. You know, just know how to use Facebook. But if it came to something like, you know, TikTok, Snapchat, they wouldn't have a clue how to use it.
But where do we stop? How far should we allow that? And which age do we think is appropriate enough for kids to be on social media and to be confident enough using it in the right way? And what can we do about it?
Well, this is the thing as well, because children develop at different rates. You know, a 13-year-old could, you know, be more confident than a 16-year-old in some cases, and you know, is it up to the parents to kind of decide, okay, now I think you're wise enough to use social media in a limited way at this age? It's a minefield, really, because every child is different, every situation is different.
And a lot comes from peer pressure. Like, imagine you're in a group of, let's say, 5, 6 little girls. 4 of them already have TikTok. You might not be mature enough to use it, but you want to use it because all your friends have. And then you might be the only one being there, like, feeling a bit uncomfortable, but the others kind of be like, oh, come on, do it. Or that you don't want to be the one left out.
No, it's a massive issue. It's kind of like an age-old issue of, you know, peer pressure, and you know, it's subtle peer pressure as well. It's not necessarily, you know, people forcing you to download something. But if you feel secluded, you're going to want to be part of the group, and you're going to want to do stuff and kind of be active, you know, and actively engaging with the other people in your friendship group, or keep in touch with the other people in your classes, or, you know, even stuff like people use, you know, Snapchat to have group messages in classrooms, and, you know, people ask about homework and stuff like that. And, you know, it could be a useful tool in that way, but also, while having that useful tool, it does expose so many dangers. So is it really worth it?
Yeah, it is incredibly difficult trying to find a way around. And again, I don't think there is a single answer to this, but at the moment, I personally think a lot comes from the education. A lot comes from putting schools more into having to teach younger ones about it, as well as teaching parents about it, because we now live in an age where so much happens on social media, so much communication happens over social media, rightly or wrongly. So we should educate our kids, as well as the generation who did not grow up with this, how to safely use it and how to not spread hate, not spread sexual harassment and other things that could make social media harder for anyone else. It is, I think, comes a lot from education to also say no if you don't like anything, or to say yes if you do, because that takes away the power of people who like to spread fear, hate, sexual harassment. Because if you say no and you block someone, they can't do anything about this anymore. They can start a new profile, they can do all sorts of things, but essentially you've taken most of the power away from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is difficult, and again, we won't solve it today, but I hope that at least talking about it will change something, and if not only we talk about it but also others, it might do something.
So what are your opinions? Leave your feedback in the comment section down below. This was Lauren
and Maria, and don't forget to tune back in for our next episode.